Hello, dear co-creators. So the quality of the video is poor because it's night and I just have a regular bedroom light. So forgive me for that. But I am my brain is just like with curiosity and excitement because I have been thinking all day about um, this thing that arises many times in SSP sessions with my clients, but then also just something that I've struggled with my whole life. And it's this idea, am I doing it right? Am I doing a good job? And I've been curious about this. Where is this coming from? What is it about? How can we support ourselves um, with some people describe it as self-consciousness, but I think it also has a layer of dependency, right? So many of us, pretty much all of us, have been trained from a very young age to wait until an authority figure, be it our parents or our teachers or our religious authority or our government, says, yes, you can do that. Or we do something and then we look to the authority and we say, was that good? And the authority either rewards us for doing good or it punishes us for not doing good, right? And we have been so trained to wait for the authority, excuse me, to either say reward or punishment, that of course our nervous system has been trained, and not just by our one lifetime, but by many, many lifetimes and through evolution to fear the punishment and to crave the reward, right? And so we're constantly adjusting our behavior according to the fear of the punishment and the craving of the reward. So we're seeking the reward, and we're also checking for the punishment all of the time, right? And so the nervous system is so occupied by this focus on the reward and the punishment that it is unlikely that the nervous system has the capacity to just let us know what's going on with our biological functioning. So, for example, the minutia of, hey, we're tired and need some sleep, or hey, we need some more vitamin C or more fat in your um, food intake, or we need some more sun, or we need to take a break from hanging out with this person because there's an energetic mismatch, right? Any of this information that the nervous system was designed to give us in order to support not just us avoiding danger, but us like having, you know, healthy biological functioning and healthy co-regulation in terms of our connection with other beings. It's not able to give us all of that information because it's so hyper focused on searching out the reward and avoiding the behavior. So I recently read an article and I'm going to attach it. It is by someone named David Weber, and I learned about him on a new movie that I think is well worth a watch on Gaia. I will also link that. Um, and he is a non-duality teacher, and this image that he gives is of the subconscious as and the subconscious, in my layman's understanding, is very much intertwined with the nervous system. Okay, so the nervous system is like the one of the mouthpieces of the subconscious. Okay, so the subconscious in this metaphor is an elephant, and the ego, or the identity, or for this purpose, the mind, is like a person riding the elephant. Okay, but there's a note in it that it's actually the subconscious is like 500,000 times bigger than the elephant if you were to scale it. So the mind is like teeny tiny, and the or the conscious thought is like itty bitty compared to the like massive nature of the subconscious. And so when we tap into self inquiry, okay, so when we ask ourselves, who am I? What is this thought about? What does this thought mean? What does it mean that I'm here? Um, what is it that I'm feeling? What is it that my body wants? What is it that I'm sensing energetically in this exchange with this person, or this book, or this movie, or this sweater, right? When we start to do this self inquiry, and then, for me, the work of Byron Katie is is self inquiry, right? It's asking, is it true? How does it make me feel? How does it make me treat myself? How does it make me treat others? What is it? What do I feel like without this thought? Right. And then starting to turn the thought around. All of that is self inquiry. So anytime that we tap in to self inquiry, and I'm just going to make sure that I'm getting this right according to this article, what we're doing is we're triggering something called the SBS, space, break, stop. Okay. So the brief period of quiet, or pause in between the thought and the behavior when we insert self inquiry. So I'm often talking to people about when we take the moment to say, "Oop, the nervous system is telling me something. What is it?" That inserts a little pause, a little space in between the information being sent from the nervous system and the reaction. So for many of us, before we started thinking about the nervous system, we would get a nervous system response, and we would have a reaction immediately. So perhaps I get a nervous system message, I look around me and I say, oh, it must be my kid. And I say, you're bothering me, stop it. Okay, that's a reaction. When we open up to the question mark in between there and we go, oh, what's the nervous system telling me? We get a little pause in there, and we have the opportunity to say, okay, is this information that actually relates to the current moment? Could it be about my kid? Could it be about something else? Could it be unrelated to anything in the present moment? And it's just like, I smelled something that, like, in a parallel universe, I smelled and got hurt by, right? We start to question it. We get a little pause, and we have time to say, all right, I have this reaction option. I also have this response option. I could tend to myself for a moment by doing a nervous system regulating exercise, by asking some more questions. I could take a break. I could communicate to the people around me, like, hey, I'm having a moment. I'm just going to go to the restroom. Or, hey, I'm not sure that this is the right thing for me in this moment. I think maybe I'm going to switch gears and do something else, right? We get to respond instead of just react. And this little pause that this author describes as the space, break, stop, um, is a break from, as he describes it, the usual chaos. Okay. And according to this article, it's talking about that these brief moments, these SBSs, space break stops, that come after the self inquiry, are really satisfying to the subconscious, to the elephant in the analogy. Okay. And what happens is that, so it says 99.9% of what goes on is done by the elephant, including generating pleasure with its neurochemistry. So each and every SBS begins to give the elephant a taste of this deep pleasure, subconscious pleasure, and it begins to pursue it more. Okay. And it says there's no waste in the SBS, that each and every little millisecond that you experience whenever, like, say you're in the middle of a moment and you have that realization, like, oh, I could ask myself how I'm feeling. Each instant of that is contributes to the data being changed. And it's a very fascinating way they describe how the ego or the conscious thinking works. It's all these overlapping programs that sometimes compete, sometimes collaborate to try to keep you from accessing or operating from the perspective of the subconscious. And so what happens is, it says, within several weeks, and especially after several months of practicing this self inquiry, it says it begins to, each and every SBS or non dual experience makes a permanent change. After a few months, life feels different, less stressful, more relaxed, more pleasurable as dopamine manifests. And this part I love. Self-referential blah blah, like the chaos of our ego or self-referential identity state, is less sticky. Thought strings are shorter and less emotionally charged. Attitudes to others are more open. So I haven't been able to put words to my experience over the past couple of years as the work of Byron Katie really started to break things up for me. It's been hard for me to explain what that's done, but this is what that's done. So less stressful, more relaxed, more pleasurable as dopamine manifests. Do you know that there was a point at which I was describing to my previous counselor? I switched because this was not the right fit, obviously, but I was describing to her this almost euphoria or ecstasy that I was experiencing, this sort of universal pleasure that felt kind of like I was like, as I walked through the world, I felt like the world was flirting with me. I was trying to describe this to her, and she thought I was having a mania, which I am not a medical professional. So please don't use anything that I say to be like medical information. My counselor, though, thought I was having a manic episode. And what I actually was experiencing was this deep dopamine from my subconscious having these space break stop experiences on such a regular basis, because the more time I spent questioning the thoughts that were coming up in my identity based mind, the less sticky these like thoughts were for me, and the less emotionally charged. It's a brilliant explanation of it. And attitudes to others are more open. I started seeing, how I often say, like, anytime I'm interacting with you, it's actually you and me interacting and our nervous systems interacting. And with that perspective, the Byron Katie, like, if I was thinking and believing what you're thinking and believing, I would do exactly the same thing that you're doing. So it makes it very difficult to judge you, because I know that you're absolutely innocent. You have no other options, right? So I become more open to others. And then this part is just awesome. The elephant's assessment of pleasure or pain for all activities, reflecting the 3 to 5 times stronger weighting to pain for evolutionary reasons. So like pain is weighted more strongly because of evolution in order to like protect our survival, is shifting significantly, and more dopamine goes to the pros. So as we have these SBSs, whereas evolution has trained us to have a negativity bias, to look for the problems, right? Our reticular activating system is going, okay, where's the problem? Where's the negative thing? Where's the situation that we need to fix? And as we use the self-inquiry to insert these SBS, space, break, stop, we actually influence that evolutionary programming so that it starts to shift from a negativity bias to a positive bias. We start to see the possibilities. We start to see the synchronicities. And this is why all of those people who channel things or who teach, following your passion or whatever, they say, you'll start to see more synchronicities. Everything will become like a synchronicity because your reticular activating system is getting retrained from the program of evolution to look for danger to the program of the subconscious, which is to look for synchronicity and possibility, right? Which is so fascinating because the amygdala of the left brain looks for is like a skeptic. It's like, where's the danger? Where's the danger? The amygdala of the right brain is curious, right? It's like, ooh, fascinating. And so as we shift with these SBSs, the subconscious begins influencing this evolutionary program so that we're shifting from the negativity bias to the positivity bias. Oh my gosh, you can tell that I'm so excited and enraptured by this thought that I love it when other people put words to the things that I don't have words for. Oh, it makes me so delighted. Okay, with several more months of self-inquiry and letting go practices, significant changes become more evident, and the pros recruit more modules. So the modules is this person's framework for like all the different pieces of our identity mind that are like constantly working to keep make our identity or our ego survive. So the pieces that are starting to shift from the negativity to the positivity, they start to recruit the other entities or parts or identities maybe that are like, no, this is a bad idea. We don't want you to do this. They start to try to recruit some of them. And then what I think is really crucial is what happens next. Okay. So for many people who go through the SSP and then stop there, this is what happens next. Okay. So these parts that are wanting to stay identified with the ego identity or the duality identity, okay? As the self-inquiry work goes deeper, it gets into don't go there traumas, deep fears, and strong fundamental beliefs and conditioning. Beliefs like, I am my body, I am my thoughts, I am my mind, I am in control and have free will. Those kind of thoughts begin to be challenged as we're heading into the self-inquiry more and more. I heard one person reflect to Byron Katie, I feel like I'm jumping off of a cliff. I can't do this, right? And that's why anytime that I do the work with someone, I really acknowledge this is extremely courageous. And thank you so much for your willingness, right? Because you start to feel like yourself is being threatened because it is, right? We are questioning the identities. And as these identities become questioned on a deeper and deeper level, they freak out, right? And this happens to many people towards the end of the SSP. They start to feel a little bit of presence, right? They start to feel that elephant experiencing that deep dopamine. And that little rider, those little identified parts really feel threatened. and throw everything that they have at you to say, no, we will not do this, right? They fight back, recruiting many powerful new modules that hadn't been challenged before. The pros struggle to continue the self-inquiry and letting go processes. Any fall off or lost interest in self-inquiry invites an attack. So anytime that we're like, this is too hard, I can't do it, I don't want to do it anymore. Like, actually, you know what? This is crazy. This is victim blaming. This person was wrong for hurting me, and this country is wrong for bombing this other country, and this government is unjust for not giving rights to these people. And we start to get back into the duality, the us versus them, and we start to deny the absolute innocence. The battle, okay, determines how far the work proceeds. I feel like, the battle determines how far the work proceeds. And what's lovely here is that towards the end of this, the writer really reminds us that, like, ultimately, our trajectory through these stages of awakening, you could call it, or evolution of the subconscious mind, or uh reallocation of communication with the subconscious mind. I don't know how you want to phrase it, but this journey is something that our soul is involved with on like a universal level, and there's absolute innocence there too. So if you're a soul who has fought this battle and not been able to continue on the self-inquiry, or has decided to spend more time in the identification aspect, great, right? That's not a problem. So this is, again, this process is not another area to ask, am I doing it right? Because this doing is what's actually not happening. I often say, you're not doing the SSP is doing you. I think that applies to life. You're not doing life, the life is doing you. Okay, so there's a piece that we can, and a surrender to this that we can invite, because this is not another area within which to judge ourselves, or to say, if I can't do the self-inquiry and I give up, then I'm bad. Okay, so that's not what this is about. But understanding sort of the process helps me to feel less crazy when I put the work towards these things, and then I have these drop-offs of feeling like, I can't do it, it's too hard, I just need to be a victim for a little while. Because of course I would, because there's a battle raging, right? Okay. The elephant, it says, however, the elephant hasn't been asleep. To work against the antis and get to its goal, it releases more dopamine for more pleasure with SBSs. So the elephant is every time that we're able to come back to the quieting of our hearts, or the opening of our hearts through self-inquiry, or through the nervous system regulating exercises, that subconscious is going to flood us with that dopamine, because it really wants to strengthen us for this battle, right? Um, so this is fun. It says, if practices continue, so if the practices of the SBSs, self-inquiry, and the quieting of the mind, the common report is, it's clear that I'm no longer running things. The brain is doing it all by itself. And they say the brain, I think, for me it feels like the universal consciousness, right? So there's an ease that comes as this system transitions and rewrites this programming from the negativity bias to the positivity, where you start to feel greater ease, and it's harder to ignore the absolute innocence. Uh, okay. Now, since the subconscious is fully in charge, the elephant generates, and I don't know what all these words mean, okay, but I think they just still feel powerful, endogenous opioids with the dopamine. so there is no inclination or possibility to return. And it says you can't untake the red pill. So there is a point at which in the battle, once you get past a certain threshold, that you really can't go back, which is just so beautiful, right? We won't be fighting the battle forever. There's a point at which you can't really unsee it. I would say, I still fall into stretches of time, a day, a couple hours, where I go, nah, maybe I am a victim. And it doesn't last. It can't last anymore. I feel like I can't unsee it. Um, so I do feel like that I'm experiencing that. And then they talk about that there's a supreme abode in the Bhagavad Gita, where bliss is the primary measure. So sort of that, like you can't go back once you cross over, which is exciting. Okay, and then here's the part where it's like the life is doing you, just sort of the um you don't have to strive for this, okay? And I think it's lovely the way they've worded it. And again, I don't understand it completely, but I feel like the energy of it is really lovely. As most of you know, none of this is under your control as to whether you do or don't do this work, as it is all predetermined, and everything and everyone is the field of universal consciousness. Her. This work is all about letting go into that full understanding and recognizing that she does it all. Okay, so if any of that felt resonant, I offer it with you. And if not, please go forward in your life in whatever way is best for you. I love you so deeply. I love sharing and connecting on this. I love feeling our connection. Um, as I create with you. Um, and coming back to, am I doing it right? The reason I connect that question, am I doing it right, with this finishing statement of, um, that uh, everything and everyone is the field of universal consciousness, and she does it all, is that we're not the doers. We're the experiencers of this doing, this being done. And so, any ways that we can sink a little bit into that when these questions come up, am I doing it right? Remind ourselves that we evolved for good reason with the reward punishment system, and that perhaps we are being given the opportunity to rewrite that and to have a system that is not about seeking the reward or avoiding the punishment. Okay, I love you. Let me know what you think um, in the comments. I'll put the link to that article. And was there something else I was going to link? I don't remember. So remind me in the comments if you don't see it. Okay, I love you all. Bye-bye.